It can be quite surprising that the same wine from the same winemaker from one year to the next can taste quite different, and that is the power of vintage. Today we're going to be looking at vintage in wine, what it is, why it matters, how weather affects the taste of your wine, and if you stick around to the end, I'll give you some examples of wines that are best drunk young and those that benefit from additional aging. So the vintage on a bottle of wine, which you can find here, for example, sometimes on the back label, that tells you the year that the grapes were harvested. Wine is an agricultural product. It is highly weather dependent. So in cooler vintages, the acidity on a wine is going to be much higher. It's going to be a bit leaner. The flavors are going to be potentially a little bit more muted. The fruit is going to be more tangy. Whereas in a warm vintage, you're going to have riper fruit, you're going to have a rounder texture structure, and you're going to have a fuller body. So no, you don't have to go out and get a vintage chart for every single wine region and memorize them to enjoy wine. There's a lot of regions, for example, that have very consistent climates for the most part from year to year. Wines from Australia, California, Chile, South Africa, for example, don't have huge vintage variations, south of France as well. But if you're looking at slightly cooler or more volatile climates, Burgundy, for example, Bordeaux, parts of northern Italy, Canada, then you definitely do want to know a little something about the vintage. And this is just a question you can ask to a sommelier or to a wine shop manager if you want a riper style or if you want a fresher style. Even if you're not a wine aficionado, it is worth having a glance at the vintage on a bottle of wine because it will tell you where the wine is in its lifespan. So a lot of everyday quaffing sort of entry-level wines are made to be drunk within a few years of bottling. Rosé, for example, most rosés are definitely freshest and at their most vibrant the year right after the harvest, as soon as they're released for sale by the most recent vintage. The same can be said for a lot of light, crisp, unoaked white wines and lighter reds, more simple Côtes du Rhônes and Beaujolais, for example, within 2-3 years of bottling, they're going to be their freshest. And then, of course, there's other wines that definitely benefit from more time in bottle where they're really going to evolve, their flavors are going to develop, their tannins are going to soften for reds, for example. I'm thinking about big Barolos or Bordeaux, certain Rieslings, this beautiful bottle of Chenin Blanc from Vouvray, for example. These are all wines that you want to keep for a little bit longer and allow those flavors to develop. And they can keep anywhere from, for certain wines, 5-10 years, other wines up to 20. Again, a good question for your wine store staff. So again, why does vintage matter? Well, first of all, because it'll tell you if you're going to get a cooler or a warmer vintage style, and it'll tell you where a wine is along its lifespan so you know that you drink it at the best possible date. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to subscribe, to give me a little thumbs up, to send me a comment if you have a question. I'd love to hear it. If you have a video that you would like me to make on a different topic, drop me a line and it would be my pleasure. And until next time,